Hey guys, today I'm very excited about this particular tutorial because in this we're going to go sort of A to Z here, okay, not in bits and pieces. We're really sort of going after an aggressive version of a crawler where we're going to get the entire blog, all the articles, and also we'll learn how to make it super duper fast. So there's a lot of things you're going to learn in this particular article. One is you're going to learn how to use Scrapy to scrape a particular, in this case, let me actually tell you exactly what we're going to scrape. He is a copy blogger, a very famous blog. And we are going to learn how to scrape all these headlines. Okay. Not only that, we're going to go into them, each one of them, and download each of these articles and store it. Not only download it, but actually store it properly, name it properly. Not only that, we're going to learn how to paginate and go to the next. You can see that there are 10 here. If you count, there are 10 articles in one page, and there are 329 total pages themselves. That's about 3,290 articles. Right. So we can, how do we actually go through each one? Write a script which goes automatically paginates each of that without ever actually opening the next page, and download all of that, those pages, 329 pages, and then each of those pages we've download all the articles and the links, and then download them further one by one and store it locally. That's 3,000 plus articles locally eventually. It will store if you let it run. I'm not going to let it run, but and also if you're going to download 3,000 articles, how are you going to make it go fast? What are the tricks you're going to use to make it go really, really, really fast using the full power of scraping? So we're going to see all of that in one tutorial now, okay? So strap on, guys. Okay. So here is a little bit of a boilerplate code to save time. I'm opening with importing Scrapy. I'm also importing the crawl spider, which is going to help inside of Scrapy. There's a module which is going to help us scrape and spider through everything. And we need beautiful soup for a few things. I'm going to show you how later. I'm going to call this full, okay, production level almost, okay. And then we're going to, in the end, also see how we're going to scale it, how we're going to make it faster, and also how we're going to escape being sort of detected and stuff like that, okay. And rotating proxies and stuff like that. We'll see all of that production level stuff. This all right, we got to be quick in this. So right away you will see that the moment you put this in and inherit the crawl spider, Scrapy will start crawling this start URL, okay, and it is as long as restricted to this particular domain, okay. This is a pretty good system. Then it will expect you to listen in with a function called um, sorry, not scrape, parse, okay, and it will expect you to have this function here, and it will pass the self as well as the response object. If I type so bad, I'll never be able to finish this fast, okay. I don't want this video to be too long. All right, now let's see how we can scrape. First of all, the first thing that we need to do here is actually scrape the articles, okay. So let's see, we quickly, let's take any of the article, open the inspector, and then I'm going to run through this pretty fast. So you'll see that the h2 tag has a class called entry title. That's where always the title seems to be. This is good enough for me. So without much ado, I'm actually going to pull this out, put it here, and see if I can just pass the response object dot css. I'll be able to then look at the entry title and use a CSS query dot operator, which says that's the class name I want. If it's a hash operator, it's the ID that I'm going to select of an element. In this case, I want everything which has this particular class name, and I want that to be extracted. Extract them, extract it, and it goes into an array, by the way. So let's call that titles. These are our titles. Okay. So let's see, this is an array, remember that, okay? So not a one particular entry, it's all the titles. I'm going to copy paste this to see if we can get the links. That's the second most important thing, isn't it? So if you see, the link is a child of the entry title, okay? And the link is nothing but the href inside of it. If we can just get the anchor and get the href attribute of it, we'll get the link. So let's see. We already know how to get entry title. So I'm going to go a child, that means space. Child of it is that, and then the attribute of that child is an attribute of what? href. href is the attribute, isn't it? So that is not titles, that will be links. Bingo. Okay. Is this enough? Well, to the layman it is, but not to us, isn't it? Uh, what we're going to do now is actually, yeah, let's start with this. Let me not confuse you guys. So we'll take it step by step here. Um, so what we'll do now is actually combine these two arrays, right? These are two arrays separate, and we use a trick for it, which is we're going to use a zip these two, to zip these two arrays just like so. Links will give us a bigger array with a merged array here. Okay, so instead of putting it into another variable, I'm just going to go for each on the assumed merged array. Okay, this is advanced coding, guys, so you to get with it. Okay, so then I want an associative array in this case, so I'm going to call that all items, because the items will give me each of the item. Okay, the item here will give me each of the items. So, but then I want an associative array which pulls these merged things together in a beautiful way, which is I know which is a title. So I don't want to call item of 0, item of 1 anymore. So I like to put this into an associative sort of an array. There you go, there. And then I'm going to call item of 1, of 0, sorry, will be the title, and item of, because titles is what we're passing first, item of 1 will be the link, guys. All right, so then I'm going to simply yield all items, IELD, sorry, IELD, always get that spelling wrong, all items. And then this, let's just save this as something, blog crawler full blog I'm going to get. Okay, so there's a technique to run this. I'm going to run through that to another time here now to explain everything. So we're going to, but I'll still explain. So this is how we run scrapey, run spider, and then the name. The name in this case is prop color full. I'm going to use that there. Set the user agent to, I'm going to set this to Chrome. Okay, so I'll pretend to be Chrome. Otherwise, we tend to get blocked. Okay, this is not good enough. Actually, we need to rotate it. We'll see eventually how to do that. Robots.txt, I don't want to obey, so I'm just going to say don't obey that. I don't want to export it. So there you go. Copy this, cut it actually, save it, and then let's run it. I'm just clearing some weird stuff that I had earlier. Oops, sorry about that, guys. Then I'm going to paste this and run the spider. Oops. Okay, all items have a problem. Invalid syntax. Oh, okay. Oh, well. I forgot about just putting an equation signs over there. There you go. It's doing something. There you go, guys. You got the headlines here and the links. But the problem with the headline is there's HTML content. So I know I have a good way of doing that, removing it. We'll use a beautiful soup. Beautiful soup has a simple function which strips out all HTML and gives you text, which is called text.text. And that should do the trick. I'm just going to run it again. As simple as that. Beautiful soup solves the problem. So you can see that the array title, associative array, okay, and the link, it gives you everything, guys. Isn't it beautiful? Okay, but there's one problem with this, which is that it just fetches just the links in one page. How are we going to get to multiple pages? There's a technique to it, which is I want to click on next page. That means I just want to see what's in next page, the link in next page. And I want to pick up that link and go with it. So here, if you see, the li tag has a class called pagination next. That's good enough for us. It's pretty self-explanatory. So what I'll do here is I'm going to issue a command to actually navigate. First of all, find the pagination link and navigate to that. Okay, two things will happen very fast over here. So first of all, let's find the next page link. Okay, so we call it next page equals response.css, and if you look at it, it's called pagination next. That's the class name, so we copied it. Good for us. So let's get the pagination next, but that's not enough. It is a ahref inside of it, so I'm going to go a and attribute. That's exactly what we did earlier over here. Okay, and what is that? Href. Okay, and we're going to extract that. Extract it, and that's the next page. Okay, if you want, we can print this here and say fetching next page, and then put the URL of next page here. Okay, we are not going to fetch it, but just to test it, I just want to run this again and see what happens. Okay, there's an error. All right, next page actually should be an array, so we're going to get the next page 0, even though there's only one element in that array. The code doesn't know that, so it always returns an array, so we're going to pull out the first element of the array. So somewhere here there should be, very carefully, if you look at it, there will be a next page. Yeah, there, fetch with next page, and it's found the next page. Now this page has to find its next page. This page has to find that's next page. So what we're going to do is we're going to call parse on itself. So let's see how we're going to do it. Okay. So what we do is we're going to say yield. Always remember to say that scrapey dot request. Okay. We're going to launch a new request with scrapey. And what do we want from it? Next page of the 0th item. That means basically, okay, and then we're going to call back itself, okay, dot parse. Okay, now watch what's happening. This first page gets us the next page, and that is called again by a request object, which calls back parse again. Because callback is set back to parse. It pulls out all the titles and links, finds the next page again within it with the same sort of attributes, says printing next page, and calls a request, makes a request again, and calls itself back again. And once the request is finished, it goes ad infinitum. Okay, um, so that's the way you have a recursive sort of next pagey thingy going on. Okay, so to make this easier to locate, I'm actually going to make a proper, let's say, that's the next page thing. So just give me a visual cue here, okay, so that we can see this in action. And each time it should print the items by themselves. So let's see, it should infinitely keep going now. There, if you see, it never stops. It keeps going, it keeps going, it keeps going. That's the next page being fetched. And the links further being fetched inside of it. So we're going to stop it before they block us. So as you can see, you can almost feel the power, and a little scary, isn't it, to actually do this. Is this enough? No. We need to actually get each of these pages as well. We need to get each of the links here. We gotta issue a request now to get those links as well. Right? So let's see. Let's copy this. This is how we this is how I actually do a request. So let's just copy that. And as we're going through the item iteration here, as we're putting it into this beautiful sort of associative array, we're going to actually ask to it to get the link, which is an item of 1. Okay, let's get the link and call back, not here, not anymore, we can't take it anymore. let's call a separate function which we designate to handle blog posts. Maybe you want to extract that content and summarize it or sentiment analyze that or whatever it is that you want to do. It's always a good idea then to have a separate function to handle it. Okay, so let's create that. So that's the callback. It will come here once the blog post is downloaded. Okay, blog post self comma response, same way. So flexible, isn't it? Now what happens? Now let's just say print fetched it. Okay, response dot. Okay, let's see what happens here. Quickly stop it, but we should have fetch blog posts. So I'm just going to put something else over here to tell me to look at it visually. Okay, otherwise it might be very confusing in all this printing. Oops, sorry, there's a plus that's required. It was the error. There you go. Okay. Stop. Do you see it? Do you see it, guys? I stopped it. Do you see how these are all, this is fetch blog post, the actual blog post content. This is the title and content extracted for each of those. It's going away to fetch it. Each one takes its own time, by the way, but it's still pretty fast because I'm on a decent speed as well, and it's the middle of the night, so it's pretty fast. Is this enough? Not really. Now it's gotten the blog post. What do we do with the blog post? I suggest we save it. All right, how do we save it, you ask? It's pretty simple. Okay, let's pick a file name for it. File name equals, let's put it in a folder. Okay, I already have created a storage folder, and inside of that we're going to put response dot URL. Let's pick up the name from the URL. Okay, what do we name it? That's the key thing. So I figured out that the best way to name it is pick. Most of these blogs have beautiful names. So I'm going to split and remove a lot of the crap earlier before the name that we need. Okay, splitting by that, if you look at this, if you look at, for example, this particular blog, okay, this post, if you split by the forward slash, you will get these into breaks. Okay, this is 0, this is 1, this is 2 from here to here, and this is 3, index of 3. This is the fourth item in that split. So I'm going to go index of 3 will give me the proper name for this particular blog post, isn't it? The proper name, which is copy editing tips. But we need a HTML, I feel. So I'm going to add HTML dot HTML extension, and that should be saved. To save it, we just get the F object, right? The file object with open of file name, comma, write bytes as F dot write of what? Response dot body. That contains it. Okay, guys, and then we just return it null. And after this, let's just put something here. We're just gonna tell ourselves that this is done. Saved blog post. Saved blog post, not URL. We're gonna say which is the file we used. File name. Disk is almost full, guys. Okay, so let's see if this works. So now what we're doing is we're going through each page as well as getting each of the links, creating a request for each, and then fetching it and then storing it by giving it a meaningful name. Okay, so let's get into the storage area and see if everything gets stored over here. Let's run it. Invalid syntax, always. I'm in the PHP mode over here. Dot. There you go, guys. Something is happening. Yeah, it's saving here. You can see it being saved. I'm gonna cut that out before we get blocked. We always get a bit worried about it. Look at how fast it saves all this 30 yard. And it's coming clearly from multiple pages. Okay, but this is in real sense of actual web crawling. This is not that fast. Okay, so there is a way to extract the power of scraping even further. Okay, I'm going to show you a few tricks now. So I've already pre-stored this. There's no way I'll remember all this. So these are the settings that work very well for me. Okay. So what I'll do is, while creating the spider, I'm going to pass these custom settings. It expects that object to be there. And this is the most important one, concurrent requests. If you put a 10, it'll go 10 times faster basically. It opens 10 asynchronous channels by which it will download. Okay. So at any point in time, imagine 10 of these files being downloaded. Okay. Robots.txt, like I said, do not obey. Concurrent items, which is not just requests, how many items can it handle? The pool size, you're gonna deliberately reduce the amount of log that it'll give. And retry, we kill out all retries, just waste time. Redirect max time, sometimes keeps redirecting. Download, it'll cut out after 5 MB, so you don't get stuck on a video or some sort of big PDF or something. And then it also, we change the priority in which it downloads. Okay, see, scraping actually scrapes with the depth first process. We're going to make it breadth first process. Not very useful in this case because we're controlling everything, but that's this, these settings sometimes work for me throughout the app. Okay, so if you use this, it is even faster. Okay, so let's run this again. This will be way faster now. Look at how fast it is. This is insanely fast. Okay, this is actually going 10 times fast. 10 times faster, this one. So if we look at the timestamp, it's almost all at the same minute. Almost all at the same minute. Okay, so now you can increase this to 100 if you want, and it'll still work, I think, on my machine. At some point, it'll start giving you diminishing returns. That's when you should cut it out. And also, we don't want to overload this. So this is when you have multiple domains and multiple start URLs, then you can do this. And then it'll really work. To be able to actually now, is this enough? Not really. So like I said, one of the things you need to do is, if you're running it, if you see the user agent, this needs to be rotated. So you need to bring that in over here. Okay. And I'm not going to do that now because I'll show you an easier way later. And the other thing that you can do, you will see, is even if you keep rotating user agents, your IP is exposed and it will get blocked eventually. Right? So it will get blocked. So the way to do it is actually use a rotating, IP rotating proxy service. I happen to have one, and I'm going to shamelessly pitch it to you. It's called proxiesapi.com. And once you go to Proxies API, you can just call my endpoint instead of calling copyblogger, with just passing copyblogger as a URL variable. And then I will send it through a pool of about 2 million plus proxies. These are residential, secure, dedicated proxies, high speed stuff, and I automatically retry anyway. So even if there are a couple which are sleeping and not working, you will not even notice it. Because automatically I'll retry and get you the results no matter what. Right? I'll rotate browser entries. That's why I told you don't need to do it. I'll handle process. I even handle captchas behind the scenes. The soul service handles it. It can even render pages, but we'll not get into that. Right? And this is free for up to 800,000 API calls that you can do without even a credit card. Every month you'll get that. Right? I suggest you try that if you really want to have production level high speed crawlers like this. I enjoyed this even otherwise. So even if you don't use my service, I hope you enjoyed it as much as I did, sort of teaching this. Thank you guys.